62% of Democrats nationally say their party leaders should be replaced. Party leaders like Andrew Cuomo, party leaders like
Democrat establishment looking at these numbers and being like, how can we be even worse? How can we be even worse? How can we be more out of touch? It seems like the people demand change. I am so stoked. I'm so stoked. I'm a little worried still. I'm always a little worried, but God, I feel like DSA numbers are about to get base boosted after this one. Holy shit. It's finally happened. The Democrats have crossed the line. Zohran Mamdani, a 100% communist lunatic, has just won the Dem primary and is on his way to becoming mayor. We've had radical lefties before, but this is getting a little ridiculous. He looks terrible. His voice is grating. He's not very smart. He's got AOC +3 dummies all backing him. And even our great Palestinian senator, crying Chuck Schumer, is growling over him. Yes, this is a big moment in the history of our country. Oh, he's jealous. Oh, he hates it. Oh, he knows. Trump is obviously a zesty queen with a penchant for the arts, okay? He knows someone who's good on television when he sees them. This right here, he's like, oh, New York is finally lost. I hate it. What's funny about all of this, of course, for those of you who are just tuning in, obviously I jumped the gun a little bit and immediately started the celebrations rather than telling you what took place. But a couple months ago, you guys recall, I went and I talked to this brown Muslim socialist guy who was my age, 33 years old. His name is Zohran Mamdani. Okay, New York State Assemblyman, coming out of nowhere, right? He had great ground game, great charisma. At the time, I think he was around 10% to like 16% polling in second place. And he had a lot of promise. Most importantly, because he had a tremendous amount of momentum backing him and a real people-powered movement and some fantastic ideas. Modest social democratic expansions of the safety nets, modest social democratic reforms. But overall, it was great. Very progressive, unafraid of calling himself a socialist, and also unafraid of saying that Israel was an apartheid state doing a genocide. He had been an activist for quite a while, as a matter of fact, always on the right side of history. And last night, the tremendous efforts of thousands of New Yorkers and even a larger number of people who were calling in and phone banking from all around the country. It amounted to the former governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, who was the establishment favorite with $30 million dumped into the primaries, mostly in attack ads against Zohran Mamdani. Zohran Mamdani was able to defeat former governor of New York, sex pest, cop rapist, Andrew Cuomo. And the Cuomo name in New York is a dynastic name. For those of you who don't know, Andrew Cuomo had tremendous name recognition. He immediately seized upon the Democratic Party machine politics in New York. He designed the New York State Democratic Party machine to his own desires, and yet none of that worked. I mentioned Zohran's win to a coworker, and he genuinely believes that my goat is anti-American jihadist who's going to implement Sharia law in New York City. Wild. Yes, you will hear a lot of stupid takes because clearly this kind of hysterical posturing does have some kind of impact, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you can overcome that by talking about the policies. That's it. Look at Max Rose coping.
Win because he is a democratic socialist. National Democrats should not take that lesson. He won despite the fact that he calls himself that. But the actual policies that he was talking about, I was known as a moderate Democrat when I was in office. I would have talked about many of those things like free transportation, universal child care. These are things that can certainly unite.
Oh, now it's the moderate position. Now it's the moderate position. It is, by the way, it is the moderate position, but that's not the way that you were presenting it. That's not the way that the Democrats were presenting it. That's not the way that the commentariat was presenting it. Dickheads, dude. Yeah, move the goalpost. This is how the goalposts move. Jim Cramer's reaction. Oh, buddy, can't wait to see what my Trot had to say about this. Remember, Jim Cramer is a Trotskyite. He actually is he is Mr. Globalize the Intifada.
It is not the closing of a steakhouse that David Zaslav likes to, and you like to go to. Well, you and I have had dinner there a few times.
Yes. And you and I are going to recreate that place.
The rent's too high. You know what? The new mayor, potentially, of New York is going to freeze the rents, and everybody eats for free, so they don't have to worry.
Really?
Yeah.
But how about the rich?
No.
Do they get shot?
No, yes. They get taken away.
Oh, Jim, come on. You come from a Marxist tradition. Oh, Jimmy, don't act like you've talked about a permanent international revolution here, okay? Yeah, Jim is actually offended because Zohran is doing revolution in one city only, okay? That's what Jim Cramer is mad about. He's saying, no. You don't understand. I want it. I want it everywhere at all times. That's what he's going to say just now. That's his criticism is a different tendency. That's all this is. He just has a different ideological leaning here.
Kulaks.
Yes, they get taken away. We have to go.
In 23.
We have to leave now. But everybody else, there he is. Mamdani.
Maybe he's more moderate
winning
than we
the
think.
Democratic primary for mayor and potentially the successor of Eric Adams. That said, there's still a general election to come here in New York. By the way, of course, we're here, we talk about it, but we are talking about a $2 trillion economy. It's not nothing.
It is he
wants to get the rents down. One good way to do it is to stop all business and drive everybody out. That'll bring the rents down.
That's a very good point. Right? To go to Jersey, where I am.
Yeah. All right. I wanted to talk.
Amazing. I'm shocked. I thought Jim Cramer would be talking about how there needs to be an international revolution, not a revolution in one state or a revolution in one city only. And it turns out he has different fears, I guess. Shocking.
There is an active conversation going on inside the Democratic Party right now. A party that has already been soul searching since the 2024 loss to Donald Trump last fall. And now that soul searching is going to get turbocharged because what they've just seen here is a potential roadmap to success in New York in a primary context. But they're trying to figure out now, well, how do we apply this to more purple areas that they need to win in order to be a successful national party again? And there's no easy answer to that because there's a debate here. Is it
It works. It works in red areas too. A charismatic candidate that harps on the issues that directly impact. If you want to localize it, you can localize it. But a candidate that is uncompromising about his values, that also hyper focuses on the issues that pertain to people's immediate economic problems, will win everywhere. Zohran is the method. If you want to help candidates like Zohran in red areas, you have to look to, again, DSAs in red states. There are people like Zohran out there who do want to change. There are people working in local politics in red states, in red local governments. I'm so unimaginably annoyed by the Democratic Party's commentary sphere's absolute inability to address exactly what took place last night because their positions depend on them refusing to recognize the reality.
Way too liberal, socialist. What's been the reaction you're hearing from Republicans?
Yeah, Chris, I think time will tell the answer to that question, but Republicans are certainly eager in this moment to tie Zohran Mamdani to national Democrats. Take a look at this. A quick statement from the House Republican campaign arm, quote, "The new face of the Democrat Party just dropped and it's straight out of a socialist nightmare," unquote. But there is a larger story at play here, and it's a story for Democrats. It's not one about ideology or diversity or I would say even age. Democratic voters are eager for new blood. I think that's the message coming out of New York City. They're tired of this brand of overly scripted focus group and poll-tested politicians. We've seen surveys show that the party establishment is also discrediting itself with voters, which is the type of environment that allows someone like Zohran Mamdani to rise. Take a look at some recent polls. One from Reuters recently says, ask the question, are Democrats unsatisfied with current leadership? By a 49 to 41% margin, the voters said yes. Democrats said they're unsatisfied with their leaders. Also in that poll, should Democratic Party leaders be replaced? By a whopping margin of 62 to 24%, they said yes, Democratic leaders should be replaced. And by the way, this poll also found that Democratic voters think their own party leaders are too focused on certain cultural issues like trans rights, and they want more focus on things like
Again, you're missing the point. Zohran was uncompromising in defending trans people as well. He did that. How did he do that? Why was that not a primary focus? Why did that not actually tank his candidacy? Perhaps it's because he had good policies. He had good policies that people identified with. He had good policies that people thought were possible, would immediately improve their lives. Perhaps it's because he's from the city, for example. He's a person who lives in the city. He's a person that has also experienced some of these financial hardships. So he understands the real issues that people are facing in the city that he is now slated to become the mayor of. Perhaps establishment Democrats that have spent most of their past 30 years of their tenure in DC getting lunch meetings with incredibly wealthy people and lobbyists are a little out of touch with the issues that people experience in their in the respective areas that they're supposed to represent. The entire media landscape said Zohran can't win in New York City. He couldn't win in certain areas. Now the Dems can't follow his lead nationally. The goalpost is rapidly moving because this is a model for national elections. Red areas where elections are won by tens of votes, like my area, are a perfect target, and they know this. Yeah, if they're not going to do it, we'll do it. Okay? It's that simple. It is simple. It's not that difficult, man. It's not that difficult. Here's Abby Stein. Zohran at the rally for trans youth on February 8th. He was polling in single digits. Originally invited him as a part of the organizing team, hoping he would speak. I wanted more people to hear him, hoping more people would support him. We decided not to have politicians speak, but Zohran came anyway. He came anyway because he wanted to support trans youth, even when there was no political game anymore. Honestly, seeing him show up after I'd messaged Katie, deputy campaign manager, that he wouldn't be able to speak, galvanized me even more to support him. Bro, I'm so tired of these idiot media mouthpieces. Anytime they can't make sense of their laws, they blame us trans people. They act like trans rights are popular. Despite broad misunderstanding over the trans experience, people in general support us, yet we're still used like a scapegoat by these media. And that's the thing. The Democratic Party will never even actively defend trans people, and then we'll turn around and be like, we just didn't shit on trans people enough. That's why we lost. Because they're stupid. The only reason why you're losing is because the only reason why you're even defined as like silly for hyper focusing on trans people is because you have no discernible policies that people can point to. Bernie Sanders is pro-trans. Why the fuck does nobody ever say Bernie Sanders is a silly trans advocate? Andy Bashar, uncompromisingly pro-trans. The most popular governor in the state, in a fucking deep red state, as a matter of fact, even though he's blue. How is that possible? Perhaps it's because he just does the work. He does the work. If you take a principled stance, something that might even come across as unpopular is not an issue. It won't be an issue at all. Just stand by your principles. Don't be afraid to lead, okay? Don't be afraid to lead on this issue. I'm not a politician. I do commentary. But in some ways, doing commentary, especially in this media landscape, is kind of similar to a politician. You have to like behave like a politician at times. That's why so many people are like, "Whoa, what about the optics of this? What about the optics of that?" You're constantly under a sea of oppo attacks nonstop. But the reason why I've been able to cultivate a massive community of like-minded individuals in spite of being uncompromising on trans issues is because it's something that I truly believe. It's not just about being like, oh yeah, go trans people every Pride Month. You know what I mean? It's not like a silly optical reason here. It's one part of a much broader movement, a movement that has a lot of benefits if other people get on board with. As far as politicians goes, like, you're supposed to present yourself and your policies in the best ways possible and become an undeniable force. And you're supposed to do that in an earnest fashion to such a degree that people that might not even agree with some of the other aspects of your campaign go, you know what, I'm still voting for this guy because I want free buses. You know, that's how it works. That's how it works. The example I always use is Medicare for all. This is a universal policy. It immediately improves the lives of every single American unconditionally. Can you imagine a world where you're advocating for universal healthcare and someone's like, well, does that mean trans people get healthcare? Sign me out. I don't want it. Okay, you're a psycho. I promise you, you will win a lot more transphobes to your cause than you will lose in that process. That's it. There will be people who are transphobic, for example, who will be like, well, I still want the healthcare, you know? I'm still going to vote for this guy. I don't understand trans people. I think they're weird. I think they're gross. But I'm not going to let that get in the way because I want free healthcare, because people make these decisions all the time. You should get people in the opposition to concede to your good policies not constantly run in defense of the media ecosystem that your opposition has created. That's the problem with the Democrats. They are constantly running defense, and they're constantly being defined by the Republicans. And the reason why they're constantly being defined by the Republicans is because there's not a lot of daylight between their perspective on a lot of issues and the Republicans. Maybe the Republicans go too far, but if they hyper-focus just on the culture war stuff and then always run defense, run from a defensive posture on culture war issues, they're going to keep losing.
And, you know, look, on paper, this is a mayor's race. This is also New York City, special city. But is this more a New York City thing, or is this more of a sign of a larger national trend when it comes to the Democratic Party?
Yeah, just like AOC's victory in 2018, this did happen locally, but I think you can take it up nationally. What are we talking about here? Well, you know, you think about Democratic establishment, you think about Democratic Party leaders, pretty much all of them were behind Andrew Cuomo, but the bottom line is the Democratic base is fed up, done with the Democratic establishment. This is true in New York. It's true nationally. Democrats who say their party leaders should be replaced. Look at this. This is a recent poll from Reuters Ipsos. 62% of Democrats nationally say their party leaders should be replaced. Party leaders like Andrew Cuomo, party leaders like...
Democrat establishment looking at these numbers and being like, how can we be even worse? How can we be even worse? How can we be more out of touch? It seems like the people demand change. I don't like that. How do we stop them?
Jim Clyburn, who, of course, endorsed Andrew Cuomo. You think about all the Democrats that were behind Andrew Cuomo in the establishment. The Democratic base is fed up with them. And the bottom line is nationally, the vast majority of Democrats think that their party leaders should be replaced.